I'm not going to try to get too poetic in putting a voiceover for this, but what you're hearing is the SRAIR. One of the things I want to try to do, especially when I get footage for this YouTube channel, or when I just want to document stories from my friends, is try something called the training log. Sometimes when I'm working with an athlete, they don't necessarily want to pontificate about their training style on camera, and they just want to let the work speak for itself. Or in other words, they want to let the workout sound for itself. Capturing some of the natural sound could be a little bit tricky, especially in busy gyms, especially in public places, but using something where you could attach a microphone in a discreet way on your athlete or on your subject in a documentary setting or a commercial setting helps things that much more. In today's video, we're going to highlight some of the features of this microphone, and also at the same time, everything you're hearing is actually on the SRAIR themselves. This is a great way, especially if you work with professional athletes, especially if you work in busy places, you want a mic to be a bit more discreet, but you still want to catch the natural sound of the moment. This is the things where you don't see on social media. This is where you see the grind. This is where you hear some of the subtle sounds of what it's like to tell your story. Just so we're on the same page, this video is sponsored by SRAIR. Now, microphones aren't the sexiest things in the world, and obviously doing a sponsored video is going to have some sort of inherent bias because they're giving me money to talk about this microphone. However, I'll point out some of the things I may not like about these mics, but at the same time, if I had more negative feelings than positive ones, I wouldn't have done this video in the first place. Now, in order to try to give a little bit of entertainment to the audience, I am going to use a lot of the clips on the new Nikon ZR. I do think that this lav mic is actually a really good setup with this guy, so let's just actually get some test footage while at the same time showing you the audio on what these microphones can do. All right, let's get through some of the important stuff on the SRAIR. This is everything it comes with. Now, you are gonna get a clear case with a battery indicator as well, and you charge everything in the case. This is where you can put your receiver and your two transmitters. You have the clip here, and not shown on here is the old iPhone adapter, but you do have the USB-C as well. All of the menu settings and all the adjustments that you can make are going to be on the receiver, making it easier, and it's all in a centralized place, but just make sure you don't lose this part of it. You also get a headphone jack and one for the 3.5 TRSS cable in order to plug into your camera. All of the things inside of this case can be charged by USB-C, so anytime you have a case that dies, you can just plug it into a USB-C device. You're also going to get two transmitters giving you two channels of audio in case you have a podcast or two-person interview. This is also going to be compatible with the iPhone 17 or any other iPhone that uses USB-C connection, making it easier to get audio on a phone. You're also going to get a Sony adapter if you're using a Sony camera. My A7C II is kind of broken right now, but you could plug this directly into the hot shoe in order to get audio in a cordless fashion. It makes things really easy. You could also just go with the classic 3.5mm TRSS cable that goes to most cameras, particularly the Nikon ZR, which we're testing things on in today's video. And as well as we do have these lapel mics, which are gonna come in handy later. This is gonna be great if you wanna make your mics more discreet. A feature of the SRAIR is the ability to turn on something called a low-cut filter. That gets rid of some of the ambient noise of the city, or even things like ACs or HVACs, or anything else that would create a low-level rumble that might disturb your audio. Now, this is what it sounds like unprocessed without anything on it, but as we look at this shot that I'm going to show you as we're looking at this shot in our 3D RAW and I change it off to H.264, we're going to see what it sounds like with a 75 Hertz low-cut filter. Now this shot's actually shot in ProRes 422. A lot of people have talked about the H.265 and how it's a little bit soft, but if I want to shoot anything in not RAW, I can just use ProRes 422 10-bit in order to help get a non-RAW profile of something that's easy to deliver and maybe doesn't take up as much hard drive space. Now this is what the shot is going to sound like at 75 Hertz of that low-cut filter. Let me know if you can hear the difference, if you can still hear the low hum of the cars in the background or the waves, but I definitely think you can still hear the seagulls. Now on the 4-inch screen, it's great to see, but it's going to be harder to find out whether or not this actually makes a significant difference between shooting in R3D and H.265. Now, it's definitely going to look a little bit softer. It's not as sharp as using that RAW format. However, we're also going to be shooting at 150 hertz on that low cut filter, and then you could let me know in the audio whether or not you could hear some of the ambient noise. I feel like for the most part, hearing things like rustling waves of cars in the background are probably going to be gone, but you guys could let me know. Okay, so this is Uncle Kofi going to tell you what the Ghanaian language of the day. So today's word is going to be Sankofa. Sankofa. Now, Sankofa is going to be a Ghanaian word, but the government in Toronto has named this place to Sankofa, which means to go back and get it. Now, I will say, as much as I appreciate the Ghanaian language being in Toronto, I don't think any Ghanaian people have asked for this word to be named after Yonge and Dundas Square. We are not indigenous to Canada. Ghanaian people very much have come here from Ghana, so I don't know why they called it Sankofa. Now, onto the noise reduction, I will say that this one has a strong and it has a weak. Now, the noise reduction here is going to have strong and a weak. Now, I do not use noise reduction in my microphone like this. I often like to do things in post-production, but sometimes you are in a situation where you do not have that choice. You have to get something very fast, right away. So you can use the noise reduction in order to help get rid of some of the things you might hear that you don't want to hear. There are cars here, there are bus, there are people, everything is going to be out here, but I just want you to hear Uncle Kofi's voice. But if you're on how the Canadians say a pinch, you can use some noise reduction for this one too. This is going to be the heavy one as well. This one maybe sounds a little too processed, like the meats that you guys put in your sandwich. But I will say that if you're in a situation, you can use noise reduction in your microphone. Okay, let's do a distance test. Now, I did switch over to the S1 II, mostly because I don't have autofocusing lenses for the Nikon ZR. So if you could think of any autofocusing lenses for the ZR that you're going to use, leave a comment down below. But I do want to test out the distance for this guy while using this on the lapel mic connected to the SDR. But I do want to do a distance test with this. I do have it connected to the lapel mic because there's a little bit of wind going on, and I'm just going to start walking back. Now, the distance of that over there, I don't really know. I think it's about 150 to 200 meters all the way going down here. I don't think I'm going to go that far because truthfully, I don't like being that far away from my camera. And turns out people rob people's cars. And honestly, I don't think it's off the table that someone's going to walk by during this clip and then try to steal my camera where I got to, I got to chase after them. So I don't want to have to do that. So I'm gonna go as far back as I feel that is comfortable. However, I feel like in like a content creator vlog situation, this is plenty far back. Like this is actually maybe about I'm maybe about 40, 50 meters from now, and I can keep going backwards, and we're gonna see where this breaks up. However, if I get smaller and smaller on the screen, I don't even think the autofocus is working anymore. Well, this is probably what it's going to look like when you wanna do a distance test or you have something that's far away and you still wanna record audio. Now, this is line of sight. There's nothing obstructing the receiver and the transmitter over here. And honestly, if it cuts off, what I'm probably gonna do is I'll just voice over the rest of this guy. But as I keep moving back, this is uncomfortably far. Like, I don't wanna move any farther back from here because if someone decides to steal my stuff, I'm not gonna be able to get it back. So I'm just gonna keep walking back forward now, and we'll just see how this audio ends up going. But I feel like in terms of comfortability for the $170 price tag on this guy, this is pretty good. This is pretty good. But actually I don't really know that because, well, the audio could cut out at any time. So we'll see. Okay, Editor Kofi here, and one thing that I didn't necessarily explain is the test you're going to see next. Now, the SRAIR microphones do have a limiter that you could turn on the receiver, but also the Nikon ZR does have 32-bit float, and they kind of work a little bit different, where 32-bit float is like just having more dynamic range, and then having a limiter is like having zebras that prevent you from clipping in the first place. I just kind of wanted to test out which one actually works a little bit better, but at the end of the day, just know, even if you have 32-bit float, even if you have a limiter, if you yell really loud into your microphone capsule, you can still overload it. So you are gonna have both these options on either side of the spectrum, but just know that if I hold this really close up here, you could still blow things out. Now, one of the things that's on the Nikon ZR as well is it does have 32-bit internal recording. And from what I understand, it works on any microphone. Now, the difference is I don't necessarily know if that works on lav microphones because it's hooked up to a receiver that's hooked up to this microphone as well. So basically what I'm gonna try to do is I'm going to yell as loud as I can into this microphone and see if I can bring any of that information back. This is going to be a little bit different than using a Sennheiser microphone that goes goes onto the camera because lav mics have two parts. But if I could pull this audio back, then now we know if it's actually going to work. And then on the flip side here, this is going to be with the limiter on. Like I mentioned before, this is like putting like a 95% zebra to make sure that we never clip our highlights, whereas using 32-bit float gives you more range in terms of the sound that you're going to use. We're gonna see in post whether or not these two hold up though. Okay, so you guys let me know how that test went, but being able to use a lav pack as small as this, but also using a lapel mic also has some professional implications. For example, you can get bangers just like this one.
Damn right, and I'll do it again, because I am light, so I gots to win. Break bread with the enemy. No matter how many cats I break bread with, I'll break who you sendin'.
In a previous video, I was comparing all the Canon cameras and I wanted to do an interview setup, not only to find out how the cameras match, but also testing out the audio out of the SRAIR Airs. A lot of the work that I do is either going to be corporate stuff or you have to do documentary interviews, and being able to conceal your audio is going to be important. Now, getting the lapel mics are going to be optional for you in order to do that, but being able to do this is pretty nice because you could fit everything in a small package. Now, at the end of the day, when we're looking at price point over here, in every combination, the SRAIR Airs with or without the lapel mics are going to be under 200 bucks. Now, if you want to get the package of any of the lapel mics, you're only going to be spending around $139 on the SRAIR store. But if you want to get the entire package, it's about $170 with the lapel mics included. That means you're going to get 2 transmitters, 1 receiver, lapel mics, and everything fits into a little tiny pouch that fits into my hand. Although the context of my hand is much larger than everybody else's, but you know what I mean. At the end of the day, if you're looking for solid audio, I do think the SRAIR Airs are a decent pickup. And when you couple that with the idea that you can get 32-bit internal on the Nikon ZR for under 200 bucks, I'm able to talk at a distance, and also I could adjust my audio if ever I start peaking, or if I just sound kind of terrible. That being said, leave a comment down below on what you think about the SRAIR Airs. Throughout this video, I've been using them. Most of this video is on the Nikon ZR, but some of it was on the Lumix S1 too. But if it sounded a little bit off, well, you'll probably let me know in the comments. But see you guys in the next one. Yes, I have comparison videos coming out. They're eventually. You just have to wait. Peace.